The apartment was eerily quiet. The only sound was the low hum of a phone vibrating against the wooden nightstand. The screen flickered in the dimly lit room, displaying a half-finished text message. "Are you still there?" Emily Carter wasn't there to answer. She lay motionless on the floor, her long brown hair fanned out like ink spilling onto the beige carpet. The soft glow of the phone screen illuminated her lifeless face. It all started with a frantic call to 911. "This isn't like her," Lisa Rodriguez insisted, her voice shaking. "She said she'd text me when she got home, but she never did. I've called a dozen times. Nothing." The dispatcher asked routine questions, but Lisa wasn't interested in protocol. She already knew something was wrong. Emily wasn't the type to disappear without a word. It took 2 days for the authorities to gain access to Emily's apartment. 2 days of unanswered texts, growing dread, and a gnawing sense that whatever had happened wasn't just a case of a lost phone or a forgotten night out. The moment detectives entered, the air turned thick with the unmistakable scent of something off, a chilling mix of stale perfume and stillness. Emily's purse sat untouched on the kitchen counter. Her keys were in the bowl by the door. But Emily, she was right there, on the floor, the only clue to what happened. Her unlocked phone, still open to a dating app chat, the last message sent to her. "Come over. I just want to talk." Emily Carter was the kind of woman who had her life figured out, at least on the surface. At 29 years old, she was thriving in her career as a marketing strategist in Chicago. She had a close-knit group of friends, a newly decorated apartment, and a gym routine she rarely skipped. But behind the polished exterior, Emily was lonely. A recent breakup had left her emotionally drained. Her ex, Daniel, had moved on quickly, too quickly. Seeing him post pictures with someone new only fueled her desire to put herself back out there. "Just download it, Em." "Everyone's doing it," Lisa had said over drinks one night. Emily hesitated. She had never been a fan of dating apps. The endless swiping, the shallow conversations, the awkward first meetings. But Lisa had a point. It was 2023, and this was how people met now. After a few glasses of wine, Emily caved. She downloaded Matchmate, a popular dating app known for its serious relationships tagline. Within minutes, her inbox was flooded with messages. Some were harmless, others were crude, but one stood out. His profile was perfect, almost too perfect. A 34-year-old financial consultant, he had a strong jawline, piercing blue eyes, and a confident smile. His bio was short but charming. Adventurer at heart, dog lover, looking for something real. Emily liked his style. He wasn't over the top or trying too hard. She swiped right. Within minutes, he sent her a message. "Jake, finally, someone who looks as good in their photos as they probably do in real life." Emily, "Smooth. Do you copy-paste that to everyone?" Jake, "Only the special ones." The conversation flowed effortlessly. He was witty, attentive, and made her laugh. By the end of the night, they had plans to meet. The first date, charming, yet mysterious. The red flags begin. They met at Clover Bar, a trendy spot downtown. Emily spotted him immediately. He was even more attractive in person. Tall, well-dressed, confident. "Wow," she muttered under her breath. Jake was a perfect gentleman. He pulled out her chair, ordered her favorite drink without asking, and kept the conversation all about her. It felt refreshing until little things started to feel off. When she asked about his job, he was vague. "I do a little bit of everything in finance," he said, brushing it off. When she asked about past relationships, he dodged the question. "Let's not talk about exes," he said with a charming smile. Emily ignored the subtle discomfort in her gut. Maybe she was overthinking it. After all, it had been a great night. As they left the bar, Jake leaned in close and whispered, "This was fun. Let's do it again. Soon." Emily smiled, not realizing she had just stepped into a nightmare. At first, Jake was everything Emily wanted: attentive, affectionate, and always available. He texted, "Good morning, beautiful," every day, and sent sweet messages throughout work. But soon, his attention started to feel smothering. If Emily didn't respond quickly, Jake would follow up with another text. And another. "Jake, you busy?" "Jake, did I do something wrong?" "Jake, I just don't like feeling ignored, Em." She brushed it off at first. He was just passionate, right? But the messages became more demanding. If she went out with friends, he wanted constant updates. If she mentioned an old male friend, he grew defensive. One night, over dinner, Lisa gave Emily a look. "You're really into him, huh?" she asked, swilling her wine. Emily smiled. "Yeah, he's intense, but in a good way." Lisa frowned. "Or maybe not." She pointed out the red flags. How Jake was too eager. How he showed up unannounced at Emily's office once. How he hated when she made plans without him. Emily laughed it off. "He's just a little insecure. That's normal, right?" Lisa wasn't convinced. "Just be careful." Love bombing, possessiveness, and emotional manipulation. Jake's affection turned into obsession. One night, Emily mentioned needing space. Jake snapped. "Jake, so you're already looking for a way out?" He flooded her inbox with messages, some pleading, some angry. "Jake, I don't understand how you can just throw this away." "Jake, after everything I've done for you." "Jake, you're just like the others." Emily's stomach tightened. The charming man she had met was gone. Emily's decision, cutting ties before it's too late. She stopped responding. She needed time to think. That's when the calls started. He called 27 times in one night, blocked numbers, social media DMs, emails. Emily knew she had to end it. "Jake, we need to talk," she finally texted. "Jake, come over. I just want to talk." The last meeting, a message of uncertainty and fear. Emily hesitated before replying. Her gut screamed no, but she hated ending things over text. Lisa watched her type and sighed. "You cannot go alone." Emily smiled weakly. "I'll be fine. I'll text you when I'm home." She didn't know that would be the last message she'd ever send. Emily hesitated outside Jake's apartment, gripping her phone tightly. Her last message to Lisa was already typed out. "Emily, at Jake's. If I don't text in an hour, call me." Her gut told her to turn around, to make up an excuse, to leave, but she silenced it. She had to end this face-to-face. She knocked. The door swung open almost instantly. Jake stood there, his familiar smile plastered on his face, but something about it felt wrong. "Hey," he said smoothly. "Come in." She hesitated. His eyes were dark, his stance unnaturally rigid, but she forced a smile and stepped inside. The apartment was too clean. The air smelled sharp, bleach and whiskey. Emily's stomach twisted. She glanced at the counter where a half-empty glass sat next to a phone, turned face down. His phone. Jake shut the door without hesitation, sliding the lock into place. Emily's pulse quickened. She swallowed. "Jake, I just wanted to talk." He nodded but didn't move. "So talk." She forced a steady tone. "I don't think this is working out." Silence, then a low chuckle. "I knew it," Jake muttered. He took a slow step forward. "I knew you'd do this." Emily tensed. Jake, it's not like that. I just think... You lied. His voice was clipped, his jaw clenched tight. You made me think we had something real. Emily's chest tightened. She took a step back. Jake, was any of it real? His voice had lost all warmth. Or was I just some game to you? Emily's mind raced. She needed to leave. Now she turned toward the door. Jake moved first. In a blur, his hand snatched her wrist, yanking her back. You don't get to just walk away, he growled. Emily's pulse spiked. Jake, let me go. His grip tightened. After everything I've done for you. His tone was ice. Emily yanked her arm hard, but Jake was stronger. She shoved him, trying to create space. Jake, stop. He didn't. His hands clamped around her throat. Emily fought back, kicking wildly, clawing at his arms. Her nails dug into his face, raking across his skin. Jake grunted, momentarily loosening his grip. Emily sucked in air and twisted away, trying to run. She barely made it 2 steps before he grabbed her again. With a violent shove, he sent her crashing to the floor. Emily gasped, pain shooting through her skull. The world spun. Jake stood over her, chest heaving, eyes wild. She tried to crawl away, but he was on her again, his hands wrapping around her throat once more. Tighter, tighter. Her struggles weakened. Her hands grasped at nothing. Her body jerked once, then stilled. For a moment, everything was still. Jake staggered back, staring down at Emily. She wasn't moving. His breath hitched. His hands, the same ones that had held her so tenderly before, were now shaking. He dropped to his knees, pressing his hands against her shoulders. Emily. No response. A horrible realization settled in. No, 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 he whispered. He shook her harder. Wake up. But it was too late. Emily's lifeless eyes stared up at the ceiling, the soft glow of her fallen phone illuminating her pale face. On the screen, her last message to Lisa still glowed. At Jake's. If I don't text in an hour, call me. The hour had passed, and Lisa was already dialing 911. Lisa stared at her phone, her unease turning into full-blown panic. It had been over an hour, and Emily still hadn't responded. She dialed Emily's number. No answer. She tried again. Straight to voicemail. Her stomach dropped. Something was wrong. Lisa didn't hesitate. She called 911. My friend Emily Carter went to meet her ex. She told me to call if she didn't text me back. The dispatcher asked for details. Emily's address, Jake's name. Lisa's hands shook as she gave them everything. She wouldn't just disappear, Lisa insisted. Please, you have to check. Detectives arrived at Emily's apartment first. Nothing seemed out of place. Her purse, keys, and work bag were still there, but Emily was missing. The only clue, her last text to Lisa. Investigators traced Jake Reynolds' address and sent officers to his apartment. When they knocked, there was no answer. After getting a warrant, they forced entry. The scene inside was chilling. Emily's body lay motionless on the living room floor. Her phone, still glowing, was only a few feet away. Jake was nowhere to be found. Security footage from Jake's apartment building showed him leaving through a back entrance hours earlier, wearing a dark hoodie and carrying a backpack. Detectives pieced together his cover-up attempt. He had wiped his phone clean, deleted his matchmate dating app messages, withdrew cash from an ATM before vanishing. But there were 2 things he couldn't erase: the fingerprints on Emily's neck and the digital footprint he had left behind. For 2 days, Jake was on the run. A manhunt stretched across state lines. His face was plastered on news reports, his name trending across social media. It was a gas station clerk who finally spotted him. Jake had dyed his hair and paid with cash, but his nervous demeanor gave him away. Police surrounded him in the parking lot. He didn't fight. He just raised his hand slowly. In the interrogation room, Jake's facade cracked. "She was leaving me," he muttered. "I didn't mean to. The detective said nothing, watching as he buried his face in his hands. The evidence was overwhelming. The bruises on Emily's body, the texts, the digital trail. It was over. Jake Reynolds was charged with first-degree murder, but for Emily Carter, justice came too late. Emily Carter's story is a haunting reminder of the hidden dangers of online dating. Behind charming profiles, predators lurk, preying on trust and vulnerability. Jake Reynolds' possessiveness, manipulation, and obsessive behavior were all warning signs Emily tried to ignore. Had she acted sooner, could she have escaped? Online dating offers connection, but also risk. Trust your instincts, tell someone your plans, and never ignore uneasy feelings. Because sometimes swiping right leads to disaster,